Welcome to It's Your Business, a program designed to highlight our local businesses who participate in procurement and contracting opportunities at Houston Community College. I'm your host, Veronica Douglas. If you have tuned in before, welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Either way, we are glad you're joining us on today as we highlight our local small businesses for the great work that they do. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, please do so by visiting our website and clicking Let's Stay in Touch. Subscribing to our newsletter allows us to reach you in a uniform manner, providing information about the Small Business Development Program and its community partners. So with that being said, let's get started. On today's show, we will speak with PermitUsNow, an industry-recognized building permit expediting firm helping architects, contractors, and project owners like HCC to save time, money, and energy in obtaining construction permits. PermitUsNow can take the stress out of obtaining building permits for city, county, and other jurisdictions through their tailored service packages and solutions. Joining us today is Helen Callier, President. Good morning, Helen, and welcome. It's so glad to have you back with us.
Hey, hi, Veronica. It's fabulous to be back always. I appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself for the viewers, that may have seen you in the past and those that don't know you. Tell us a little something about you.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that question. I may be one of the few, but I am a lifelong Houstonian, which I'm proud of. I mean, I've lived in other states and cities, but Houston is home, and lifelong Houstonian, and that means a lot, especially with the type of work that we do. Voracious reader. Trained at Prairie View A&M University in the mechanical engineering program, which I spent many years in corporate America, doing a lot of mechanical engineering design work and so forth. And so very, very thrilling about that. Voracious reader, as I noted, love nature, and enjoy helping people to achieve their dreams, which is important to me as well.
And you are no doubt known as the point guard in the business community. I have heard many individuals say that. I've also heard yourself say that, and it is so true that you are a connector amongst the individuals in the community. So tell us a little bit about PermitUsNow.
And I appreciate you mentioning about the connector in the community. I got to tell you, just right off at the beginning of this interview, that really touched my heart because it means a lot. All right, it means a lot. And so PermitUsNow, which is still in that vein, PermitUsNow, as you noted, helps architects, contractors and project owners to really take the stress away and the pain associated with getting a building permit. They know it's important, right? Because if you're doing new ground ups, major renovations, remodeling, and so forth, and it's needed in the case like with HCC, when we worked on some of the bond program projects, it helps to create the ideal environments for students, right? And so for us, getting a building permit is important, getting it in a timely manner, have to hit that milestone, but ultimately you want to see that building open, expanded, right? And that way you're creating the ideal environment for those who use that particular structure to thrive and have their best life, right? And so that's what really moves us is this aspect right there, right? So
how many years have you been in business, if I might ask you?
How many years? So PermitUsNow is a subsidiary of my parent company for Bradlink LLC, which primarily does government contracting. And so we've been in business, and myself been in business almost 20 years. In fact, January 2024, it will be 20 years for us. I'm very excited about that. For PermitUsNow, founded in fourth quarter 2016. And it was basically, saw a need in the marketplace or pain in the marketplace associated with building permits, because we understand government speak, we understand building codes, and the city of Houston and other jurisdictions. We basically started providing the service, right? Taking care of our existing clients and expanding from there. So we're a multidisciplinary team, team consisting of associate architects, folks with construction management backgrounds, masters in construction management. So we understand the design side and we understand the construction side, because you have to build it. And you have to be able to talk to the folks in between, right, at the city to get the plans approved. which is key.
And how important is what you're doing? How important is that in the community as a whole? I think people need to understand how important the building permit process really is in our communities.
And so, obtaining a building permit is, allows for structure to be built safe, right? And so there's been due diligence over hundreds of years to determine what are the ideal and the best building codes for safety for the public and or either for residents living in their homes or for folks driving on roadways, whatever it may be, right? So it's being compliant to those codes, to those building codes that allows for structure to be there safe versus the other extreme where structures fall down or they're not built in a proper manner and things happen, right? Things happen. So obtaining a building permit is vital. As I tell folks, if you're out in the boondocks, way out somewhere, then go do what you do, but still be safe, right? But you're not going to typically need a building permit when you're way out in the boondocks.
Well, for those way out in the boondocks that may want to work with you, what cities do you operate in? Do they have a team?
and so we're headquartered in downtown Houston because we love being able to fall out of our chairs and be close to the city of Houston, Harris County, and other jurisdictions. In a heartbeat. But we're Houston and surrounding areas. We have an office in North Texas and an office in the Hill Country in Austin. But we pretty much cover Texas as well as Western Louisiana. Everything that's west of New Orleans for some odd reason, but it works well. But we cover Texas, right? So if somebody's out in the boondocks somewhere, then feel free to give us a call. We'll help you with your septic tank and other units and devices that you may be putting in place.
So that sounds like several hundred jurisdictions that you're covering.
Yeah. It's significant. It's well over 700, jurisdictions, because when you look at not only the municipalities in those particular areas, could be Frisco, could be Plano, could be Round Rock, could be, Bee Cave, San Antonio and surrounding areas, Corpus Christi surrounding areas, Beaumont Triangle surrounding areas. So you're not only looking at the municipality, you may have to interact with the mud district on the water side. You may be dealing with the county in some regards, as well as the private utilities, right? It could be the energy companies, let's say Austin Energy, and or either, of course, as we know, here locally could be AT&T or CenterPoint. And so a lot of jurisdictions that we have to deal with, and we kind of thrive at. It's a
lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. We're excited about it, though. We're really excited.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the industries that you serve?
And so many, several industries. For commercial meaning, be it if it's hotels related. HEB, very grateful. It's been one of our longtime clients for many years. So retail, grocery, manufacturing facilities. We do a significant amount at the airport for concessionaires such as OTG. We're a point expediting firm for United Airlines and their particular projects, and that's again falls under the commercial space. But we then also on the permitting side, handle some government-related projects, such as a fire station that we've handled the permits for at Bush Intercontinental Airport, as well as doing roadways and widening of roadways, associated with the airport as well as public works. So it varies for us. We do a lot of multifamily, a lot of mixed use. It's a cajillion of those kind of projects going on, and that's an official word. Of those projects going on, and we're always thrilled to be supporting those efforts too.
So when we talk about the city of Houston, when is a permit actually required? When does somebody have to pull one? When would you do that?
And so it's pretty simple, but we still get the phone calls, believe it or not, when you're doing a new ground up facility, right? You need a building permit, obviously. You're going to need a building permit in order to do the demolition, for the site and get the site prepared. Should be pretty simple in that regards, but we do receive the phone calls and say we didn't pull the building permit, right? And it's a new ground up structure. So we know it happens. Other times is that if you're doing major remodels, major renovations, be it if it's with the mechanical systems, electrical and so forth, such as similar work that we've done for HCC on the bond program projects with several schools. You were doing major renovations, right? That involve new lightings, maybe some fire, related, and so that all involves because of the magnitude of the work it required a building permit. Now, if you're going into a facility and you're simply doing what it's called a refresh, you're painting walls, you're putting in new carpet and just minor aspects like that, you really do not need to have a permit. Some folks will still pull what they call a repair permit, a minor repair permit, and that's perfectly fine. It just depends on the building that you're in, and that may dictate that. In fact, the facilities managers of some of the high rises will oftentimes what we see, they will require to have those kind of minor permits, even though you're doing a refresh. You really don't need it, but it happens. But if you're doing, in addition, any type of structural changes to a building, what we see is that oftentimes after, say, a major hurricane or a flood or a freeze, and there's been a damage to a building, especially on the residential side, the husband, wife, or partner may say, "Hey, this is a great time to expand our den," right? Or we always wanted this kitchen that we talked about, and they'll knock out those walls and get underway. Well, you need a permit in order to do that, right? It is an ideal time, no doubt about it. But as soon as you move over that structural element, then the city's going to be coming after you to say, "Hey, what's going on?"
So is it ever too late to call you? So, if somebody does get into a situation where they start tearing down something and it's brought to their attention, they
Mhm,
need a permit, they need to pull a permit,
mhm,
you're able to step in and quickly help them get on
mhm,
track and resolve any issues that may come about. I imagine you have some great relationships at the
mhm.
city of Houston as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have solid relationships at the city from top to throughout the organization, throughout departments, which helps, right? Because because we consider ourselves to be partners in safety, partners in compliance, and partners in goodness, if you will, as what we call it. So they're not. It's not an adversarial relationship. It's not, "Hey, what are they doing now?" It is, "How can we work together?" Because ultimately, we want the same goal, right? We want the same goal. We may want it a little faster, but we want the same goal. So that's huge in that regard. So sure, we will receive phone calls through all aspects of the project. Hey, we've started working on a building. Didn't realize that we needed a permit for this, or we made a revision and we need help, right? Or maybe a scenario to say we finished the building and we didn't realize we need a permit for it. We need help, right? Putting up a structure, right? It happens, and we've received it from large contractors to smaller contractors. Those phone calls come in. So what we're partners in the community, the construction community. So if there's questions, we say, just call us, right? Just call us. And be it if we're at least going to assist them to point them in the right direction at whatever jurisdiction, even if they don't come on board as a client, or it may not make sense for them to come on board as a client, right? And so just be cognizant of that.
Well, typically, why do permits get denied?
And so there's many reasons why permits would get denied. Is that sometimes the plans may not be clear, right, to the reviewer, and they simply will deny it, or they will cause a rejection. Or it could be a situation where there's differing views of how the codes are going to be satisfied, and if the reviewer, right, who is God, small G, says no, right, it's not going to get approved, right? It's not going to get approved. So that's some reasons there. Or and then there's other times that the architect or designer, or could be an engineer, we're just not familiar with the codes, and we see that often when there's a consultant who may not be familiar with the local codes. If there's an architect coming out of New York or civil engineer coming out of New York, then do they truly understand the local jurisdiction codes? And so those are denials all day long.
Being in Houston, we're now approaching, or we're actually in hurricane season. How
Mhm,
does that affect the permit process?
mhm. And so Doing it, hurricane season, for us, the city has become really, resilient now, I believe, especially after Hurricane Harvey and some of the prior ones that I may be forgetting right now, is that they're quite responsive. But how it impacts it is that if you're running a lean department staff-wise, then what's the impact to those one or two folks that are running that department or handling the plans? And so for our clients, when hurricane season opens up, we're being proactive to say what projects are underway or what's what do you have coming up. Let's start moving them up and start getting them on through. And it's just being proactive, and we're going to be being proactive anyhow. But it's just being heads up and say, in the event that there is a hurricane, at least you're already in line, at least you're already queued up, and to be quickly going through the process and the efforts there.
So how much, time and money can someone lose trying to do this on their own? I know you have saved these businesses an enormous amount of money taking this over for them.
Yeah, it's a significant amount, of dollars. I mean, our goal in getting a permit, quickly allows our clients to become profitable sooner, right? Right, especially for those commercial clients, right? They've made an investment, and so getting that permit in a timely manner, and then helping them to get a CO, certificate of occupancy, allows them to become profitable sooner, right? And so for that, I mean, from our estimates, it's almost 60%, 50% on average, but up to 60% that we've been able to save, in money with fast turnaround. And there's numerous examples, with that particular effort from large, companies to smaller, entities as well, to be able to see where the gaps are. Because one of the things that to note is that we get started early, right? You can give us a full set of plans and say, hey, Helen, get going, we need a permit, and here's our set of plans, and get going. In our minds, yes, we're going to move quickly, but we're already late, right? We prefer to been involved earlier on. That way we're already positioning and queuing. We're already addressing some deficiencies with those set of plans that need to be addressed before getting them submitted, right? So the earlier you start saving time, right there.
So you really are on point, because we don't want, someone to have a construction delay and maybe then they'll be put in a situation where they're paying for liquidated damages, or maybe there's more funding that they need for the project. So you are on it. I have to say, you are on it. From the minute you find out that you are going to be managing their project, you take it and you run with it. Look at those plans, make sure they have everything they need, and start that permitting process right away.
We like to be involved early on. When we're working with schools, educational entities such as, say, on bond programs or anything, you have a short window to operate, right? Because you're doing so in between the semesters, in between the holidays. And so again, do you get started when you get 100% set? No, you have to get started, earlier, working with the architect of records to get going, and position yourself at the city, get those questions answered ahead of time from the plan reviewers. That way, when you get that 100% set, many times folks are submitting 90% set, and let's just get rocking and rolling and move forward. Again, our focus is, how can we have that environment be the best for whomever that consumer user may be.
On average, I mean, what is the time to get a permit pulled from the city?
It depends on what it is. I mean, it depends on what it is. I mean, some of the reviews are taking as long as traditional first round reviews may take as long as 28 to 30 days, right? Depending on what departments and so forth. One of the big changes coming from the pandemic side, when you had one stop, right? You had a small project that you would basically could take a set of plans. At that time, it was still a hard copy. You could basically take a set of plans, go downtown to the city of Houston, depending on if you got there early, late, or so forth, wait in line for a short period of time, and leave with your permit, unless there were some issues. But 9 out of 10 times, you could also help to get those issues resolved there, and you're leaving out with a permit. After the pandemic, that one stop it's all electronic submittals, and then now it could be 3 to 5 to 7 days. And so that change right there impacted the business model for many small contractors. right? That focused on fast remodels, 1 or 2 day turnaround remodel projects, could be residential, could be tenant improvements for commercial. They instantly changed that business model, because same day versus 3 to 5, 7 days, and we get the phone calls and we hear that. But because we have relationships in place, we're all over them, right? We're all over the city to be able to say, we got to move it, and we got to move it faster, because here's what it means, not only to this contractor, not only to this owner, but here's what the impact in the city, and we got to get going.
And that's really important to keep the project on track, keep the permitting process on track. If you were not down there lobbying, and if you were not staying on top of this, we would see a lot of these things, just drag out and take longer and longer, and projects would be delayed. So, I mean, you really have found a niche business to help your community continue to thrive and grow and be safe all at the same time, because without all these building permits and codes, we wouldn't have a safe community. So you are really doing a great thing for the community. I can't say that enough.
Yeah, I mean, I was a guest on a local radio show, one of the hallmarks in the community, and after that, I started receiving phone calls on a Saturday afternoon and on a Sunday, because I left my number. Why not? Left my number, and some of the folks were saying, it's like, hey, I built a patio on my house, and the city gave me a red tag, right? Or I'm about to convert my garage, and I'd like to know what do I need to do, right? And it's again, just providing information as to, if you're in a quandary, how you can step to get out of it, or before you step into a quandary, here are the steps that you need to take, right? Here's the steps that you need to take.
Can you share some of the successes that you had with us? You mentioned the bond, or with HEB, or some of the other clients that you had. Can you tell us some success stories?
And so, one success story I'll speak of is the HEB Clear Lake store, which is by 45 South, and just right maybe a half a mile south of the Beltway, right, of the Beltway. And those for those that are not in Houston, that's if you're on 45 South, like you're heading to Galveston, and it's gonna be on the east side of 45. So so those guys had a challenge with the detention in the area, and so while we were handling the building permits for the actual store and for the actual car wash and service station area, someone else had the responsibility to do the detention, right? Because it was servicing a greater area, right, for the overall development. And so one of the things that HEB is known for is opening their stores on time. And I forget, this was December of 2021, if I remember correctly, and they wanted to be open for the holidays, because that means a lot for retail. And it means a lot for the area as well, because HEB was transitioning a store from inside of Clear Lake, and then moving employees, right? So they did not want to impact or have any job losses with that store not being open, right? So while the building permits were pulled on time, they were not able to get the final inspections and going towards CO, certificate of occupancy, because that detention pond was still sitting there. We get a phone call to say, Helen, can you help? Can you guys help? And it's going through the county. I mean,
timeline crunch too.
It's huge. I mean, it's huge. So, but it's a scenario that every day you're on the phone. Every day you're on the phone. But we also reached out in that scenario to the top, to our relationships that we had at the county, at the top, as well as the bud districts as well, at the top. All right.
How many HEBs have you been involved with? The stores just in the Houston area, majority of them, right?
Yeah. From new ground ups. I mean, we service HEB across the state of Texas. So from new ground ups to manufacturing facilities, to warehouses, to the curbsides. There's always something going on in a store like that, right? We do a lot for Burlington's. We do a lot for for, the mod pizzas, and other type of, name recognized entities, as well as for Pepsi, is that they're always doing something. It's always refreshes. It's always, how can they make the customer experience better? How can they make the customer experience better? How do you move the flow and so forth? So refrigeration is huge for stores. And so that's always very important as well. So we're very grateful for the business that we have at HEB, because it is creating the ideal environment for customers, and of course, what they mean to the communities, right? You got to have your little uncle, HEB bucks, if you will, and be involved in the parades and everything of that nature. Another example is when we were doing work on one of the United Airlines concessions. It was a project that was already underway, right? But we were pulled into to help with coordinated pre-con meeting and some other aspects, which we do all the time. But somehow, some way, the health review somehow was amiss, and the health inspection was scheduled on a Thursday. We find out that there was an issue with the health review on a Monday, and of course they want to look at opening that particular location, right? And so we literally are on the phone, high level, to the health department. We got to have it. We got to have it. We got to have it, so we can still keep that inspection on that Thursday. Yeah.
Well, Helen, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. In closing, would you please give us your contact information, leave us with some words of wisdom?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Always, give us a call at 1-844-PERMIT and the number 4. That's 1-844-PERMIT and the number 4. You can request a quote online at PermitUsNow.com, PermitUsNow.com. Shout at us anytime. We're here to help, and look forward to serving the community, not only in the Houston surrounding areas, but of course Texas, where we make our home. Right? We make our home.
Or look for her vehicles around town. I've noticed she's expanded her fleet. You'll see her driving around on the streets or right in front of that permitting center at the city of Houston. So
absolutely.
Thank you again, Helen.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Veronica. Thanks.
Thank you for watching our show today. We hope that you'll join us back for It's Your Business. I'm your host, Veronica Douglas. Until next time.